We've got Saturn conjoining Neptune on Friday, the 20th. And so that is huge because Saturn is all about doing and creating things, and Neptune is about dreaming up things. So both of these planets have already moved into Aries. And so we are just feeling all of this energy that is active, it's action, it's fiery, right? And we haven't even begun to get into Aries season. We're still in Pisces season. So we're still feeling our feelings. And that's why today's episode feels so good, is that we're kind of in this portal week. We're in desire and intuition and inspiration seeking Pisces still, but we're feeling the Aries energy already. Welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Megan Winkler, and we are in the middle of Lunar New Year today, February 17th. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about not only the energy that's happening this week, because it is crazy pivotal, but also the fact that it is time for us to embrace our passions, our desires. So this is going to be a really juicy episode. I'm getting myself organized over here. So if you're hearing little sounds and whatnot, and not watching the video, that's what's going on. Sorry about that. Anyway, so today, the 17th, is not only Lunar New Year, it is also Mardi Gras, which is Fat Tuesday, the Tuesday before Lent starts. So Lent starts tomorrow. It is also the beginning of Ramadan, which is the holiest month in the Islamic calendar. And it is the month that is observed by fasting, prayer, reflection community. And it's really, from my research, not being Muslim, so please do not quote me, but it is about spiritual development and empathy and kind of purification as well. So that's happening. We also have today was a solar eclipse in Aquarius. And so that happened at 4:11 a.m. Pacific time. So even by the time I am writing this, it has already happened. But that explains why I was up and at 'em really early this morning without really wanting to be. And the moon is in Pisces as well, and it's Lunar New Year. It's the year of the fire horse as of today. We moved into 2026, and a lot of people are like, "Yes, it's the year of the fire horse," and it's like, "Yeah, not yet." So now we can celebrate that. We can celebrate that. I also want to touch on the other events happening in the skies this week. So I've got my handy dandy trusty Shawnee astrological calendar. I have like 5 different calendars that I use. So I've got this one, got several others. This is a big deal because we also have Pisces season beginning tomorrow. And it might be that Ramadan officially begins tomorrow. So, but this is all happening all at once, right? We also have a couple of really, really important things. We've got Saturn conjoining Neptune on Friday, the 20th. And so that is huge because Saturn is all about doing and creating things, and Neptune is about dreaming up things. So both of these planets have already moved into Aries. And so we are just feeling all of this energy that is active. It's action. It's fiery, right? And we haven't even begun to get into Aries season. We're still in Pisces season. So we're still feeling our feelings. And that's why today's episode feels so good, is that we're kind of in this portal week. We're in desire and intuition and inspiration seeking Pisces still, but we're feeling the Aries energy already. And we are in a new cycle. And this eclipse that we're in, because that's something else that's going on, is going to accelerate things. So today we might be surprised by some pretty crazy events today. I don't know. And they might just happen in your personal life. So with all of that stuff kind of in mind, of like we've got all of this fiery energy, we have this conjunction, which means that the planets are acting together with Saturn and Neptune. So action and desires get put together, action and dreams get put together. We are entering the year of the fire horse. So it's the element is fire for the year and the animal is horse. So everything's happening very quickly. So what's cool about the fire horse energy is you're gonna see where you need to pivot quickly. And that actually also goes into Saturn being in Aries for the next 2 years. You're gonna very quickly see when something's not aligned. It's going to be very obvious. No more of this like intuiting it and feeling into it and seeing how it feels. Pisces energy, that is valuable for its own thing. This is, we are running out the gate and we are following our desires. So let's talk a little bit about desires. There's a lot of cultural baggage that comes with desire. So desire can equal selfish. It can be indulgent. It can be irresponsible. It can even be dirty. Oh my gosh. If you indulge your desire by reading a smutty book, that's dirty. And especially in women, having a desire beyond what you already have is seen as ungrateful or impractical, and we're told, don't rock the boat. Like, you're just being unreasonable. But here's the deal with desire. Desire is a great signal that something needs to change or something is changing. But change signals to your brain and your nervous system that there's some sort of risk. Okay, so it's like desire is like, ooh, something new is coming. This is exciting. And at the same time, your nervous system is like, I don't want to do that. That's scary. Because risk triggers our survival wiring. So our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response gets triggered, right? So if you grew up in an environment where stability meant safety, consistency meant safety, desire might feel like a threat, right? Like, so if you did like the same old thing, like every weekend, and now you want to do something different, it might be like, ooh, is this the right choice for me? And honestly, if you're following your intuition, if you're trusting your gut and you're seeking that self-trust, then it probably is good for you, as long as you're not harming someone else or yourself. Okay? That's always the caveat. As long as you're not harming yourself or others, enjoy that desire, follow it. Consent is sexy. Make sure you're taking care of yourself too. When we're in eclipse season, which we are right now, and we're in an Aquarius Leo axis of eclipses. So right now we are in a solar eclipse in Aquarius, right? So what that's going to do is that's our inner and outer world. That is our pursuit of knowledge and facts and our desire to tear down systems of oppression, balanced with our outward personality, our courage, our leadership. Okay. So when the eclipses are active, and this happens every 6 months, so it happens in the late winter, early spring, and then it also happens in late summer, early fall, we see misalignments, right? And so that misalignment coming to the surface may feel really destabilizing. So I want you to really take care of your nervous system. It's going to feel like things are moving really fast. I want you to follow your desires in so much that they do not hurt yourself or others. And I want you to also remember that just like Mercury retrograde, or just like, like an illness that you might have, quite honestly, like you are not going to be in this state forever. The eclipse season is actually pretty quick. It seems like it might be long sometimes, but it's not. Okay, so let's dig into desire, impulse, and fantasy, because why the hell not? So desire can be persistent. Desire is quiet but steady, like there's just something kind of always under the surface. It returns even when you ignore it. And desire that's aligned with you, it feels expansive. It doesn't feel frantic. It doesn't feel like it's on any sort of time limit. There's no urgency, and there is a sense that you are in a regulated place. Impulses are urgent. They're reactive. I need to fix this now. They can feel relief seeking, and they're often tied to an emotional spike. Now, the reason I mention an impulse is because Aries energy brings a lot of impulsive vibes to our lives. So be on the lookout for that. So remember that when you start feeling like this urgent reactive vibe of like, I gotta do this now, pause, give your nervous system a moment to catch up, and see if that's really what you want to do, really aligned with your desires, right? And then fantasies, we all love a great fantasy, right? Fantasies are often detached from embodiment. They're more about escape than expansion, and they don't really require responsibility. So a fantasy is something we dream up in our head, or we read in a book, or we watch on a Netflix series, right? So desire is a building force, impulse is a burning force, and fantasy is just kind of this floating thing. And none of them are better than the others. It just depends on how you interact with these feelings, right? So no shame, no guilt, nothing like that. So how do you listen to your desire without burning it all down? So how do you listen to your desire without the impulse of just burn it to the ground? So one of the ways you can do that is to remember that desire does not require immediate action. It also doesn't require any sort of public announcements or explosive decisions. Like desire can be a beautiful flowing transition. Okay, desire is a bit of information. It's data. It's not an urgent command. Right. So one of the things you can do, especially depending on like your human design and your authority, right, is you can actually sit with this desire for a while. Sit with it for up to a whole month if you want to. You can journal about it instead of declaring it to the world, right? You can make one shift that like puts you 5% in the direction of that desire, right? So making these incremental shifts toward it. And you can contain this desire in a safe structure. Right. So remember, eclipse energy, it accelerates the awareness. So you are going to become aware of some of these desires that have been kind of lurking in the background, but that doesn't mean you have to blow anything up or detonate your life. You really just don't. And I am a big fan of actually speaking to our emotions. So if you've read my book, Breaking Up with Burnout, you know that I've got a whole chapter on shame, and I actually encourage you to talk to shame. If you're experiencing shame, talk to it and learn where it's coming from and learn why it's there to protect you. You can also speak to your desire and just be like, what do you want me to know? Where are the possibilities here? Why is this desire coming out now? And you will be enlightened by the answers. You may even be surprised by some of them. Some of them may be so obvious that you're like, why didn't I see this before? And that's okay. It's part of the human condition. And especially right now, like we're really distracted and overwhelmed by a lot of information. Okay. And it's important information, and it's information we need. And it doesn't mean it's not also overwhelming. Right. Okay. So here is a fun little practice for you. You know, I love to give you practices. So we're going to do a little regulated desire check-in. So step one is to write down what you want, like actually physically grab a pen or pencil and a piece of paper and write it down. It's a different process. And actually, science is starting to back this up. It's a different process that happens when you do pen to paper versus typing on a keyboard. It's awesome. Then notice in your body, is there expansion or contraction around this desire? And do you feel urgency around it or steadiness? Because if you're feeling urgency around it, it might be that that desire is coming from a place of overwhelm and not a true aligned, regulated desire. Okay. Then the step 3 is to ask, if I moved 5 or 10% toward this, what would that look like? And you can even take it a step further and say, what is the smallest safe step for me to take? Right? Because this is not about blowing up your whole life. It is about making these wise, regulated, inspired choices. Okay. And then you're going to sleep on it for 48 hours. You're literally going to put it away and you're going to sleep on it. You could even like tuck it under your pillow or underneath your bed if you want to get real magical and literally like sleep on it for 2 nights. So what you're teaching your body is that your desire is important and containment in the idea that like you're creating a container, a safe space for it, means that you can have that sustainable change. Okay. So tying all of this back together with the Lunar New Year and the eclipse portal and all of that, the new year is a time to restart. Is it the Georgian calendar? Yeah. So January 1st, right? Then February 1st with Imbolc. Then Lunar New Year, which is always mid-February. And then Aries season, which is around March 20th, right? Like these are like fresh starts. So we did kind of the calendar year, New Year. We also then did the Sabbath, which for me feels like a New Year energy. Like I know the witch's New Year is Samhain. I get that. But for me, Imbolc feels like a fresh start because we're coming back into the light and we're coming back into the warmth of the sun. And then Lunar New Year is right here and says you're allowed to begin again. And you can appreciate the beautiful culture around it. And if you live in a place where they have a Lunar New Year festival, I encourage you to go and eat the food and watch the dances and the festivities and really experience that beautiful, beautiful culture around the Lunar New Year. And then we'll get into Aries season when it gets closer to that. The solar eclipse is also here to say something old is falling away. In fact, a lot of old things are falling away, right? Aquarius is all about restructuring things, asking the difficult questions. It's the most inquisitive sign. It is very balanced and strategic. And it also calls to question why things are the way they are, right? So we have this beautiful new moon, new year energy of beginning again with a solar eclipse that says, except not with that shit. Okay. And when we look at it, this year does not require a huge reinvention, but what it is requiring of us is honesty with ourselves. Okay. And I want you to really consider a couple of things. Like, what if your desire isn't dangerous? What if it's pointing you in the direction that you need to go? Right? All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. My Patreon folks, you knew that this was coming out a day late. Thank you so much for giving me this space to hang out, for giving me the Patreon space to communicate with y'all and let you know like what's going on in the back end. My energy on Monday was just, it was horrible. So if you want to be like one of those insiders, come check out the Glow Up Circle on Patreon. You can join for free, and those little updates like that come in for free. Or you can start off in the lowest tier of $3 a month and you get little goodies to download, little extra tidbits here and there. And I have several different tiers for you to choose from. So I would love for you to be there. Thank you so much to my recent Patreon supporters. I will have a list of all of my people in the next week or so, because it's time to do that again, to shout out some folks again. Thank you so much for supporting my work, for making this podcast possible and keeping it ad-free, which is really very cool to be able to do. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions for podcast topics, reach out to me at hello@meganwinkler.com, and you can always find more about my work on meganwinkler.com, and come hang out on Instagram at It's Megan Winkler. I would love to say hi to you there. Swing into my DMs. Let me know how you found me. Just let me know it's the podcast. And who knows, I might ask you about like what you're reading right now or what's for dinner, because I'm always curious about the little things that keep us human. You know what I mean? Thanks again for tuning in. I will chat with you soon. And until next time, stay magical, my friends. Bye-bye.